Norway is being accused of cashing in on the war in Ukraine. The Nordic nation is reporting record profits as it increases exports of oil and gas to countries cut off from Russian supplies. It's marred Norway's green image and fuelled a fight to end fossil fuel production altogether.
In the world capital of electric cars, a showcase of the slick, simple and silly. Companies from dozens of countries spruik green gadgets at Oslo's EV Expo.
You have an electrical engine inside, which assists you by your pedaling.
This is the image Norway proudly promotes. Massive electric vehicle adoption, powered primarily by renewables. 90% of the national grid comes from hydro plants. But Norway, critics claim, is doing far more environmental harm than good.
If all countries were to live like we do in Norway, we would need 3 to 4 Earths to kind of provide the resources needed. So Norway is in my opinion and Greenpeace Norway's opinion, not a green country.
This is the massive blemish on Norway's green image. 94 oil and gas rigs scattered across Norwegian waters, and more in the works. The 10th largest exporter of oil and 4th largest of gas is building more gas pipelines and is expected to soon greenlight what will be the northernmost oil rig, critics claim in breach of international climate change commitments.
I obviously don't agree with the view that our current and future within this government energy politics is in any way in breach of our of international agreements or obligations. Short to medium term, it's incredibly important to be able to supply Europe with the natural gas.
The Russia-Ukraine war gave cause for Norway to pump more. It's already sent more than 1 billion additional cubic meters of gas to continental Europe as nations turn off the taps from Russia. And the gas industry here is pushing for more.
The petro politicians as well as the oil industry is doing their utter best to use the Ukraine war as an argument to pursue more oil and gas exploration, which is like completely idiotic because we know that it takes 15 years from you start exploring for new oil and gas until you get it into production.
Poland's Prime Minister has also accused Norway of cashing in on a conflict. And environmental activists have taken the Norwegian government to the European Court for Human Rights, claiming the government's support for new oil rigs here in the Arctic is jeopardising the future of its young citizens. And given the current climate, there are growing calls for fossil fuels to be relegated to history. A 2021 poll found 35% of Norwegians want an end to oil exploration.
We obviously think it's important to phase out fossil fuels. Our point of view and my point of view is that you have to change the demand side before you take action on the supply side. Right? So you can't just politically decide that the market is ready to turn off oil and gas.
A clean break would be painful. The oil and gas sector accounts for 14% of Norway's GDP, as well as 60% of its exports, and around 160,000 direct jobs. Fewer Norwegians are looking for those jobs. This university has seen enrolments in oil engineering drop by 2/3 in just 3 years.
So the question is that if people are going to get retired, who's going to occupy those positions?
The growing green movement has prompted major investment in wind power. Norway's government recently unveiled plans for a huge expansion in offshore wind energy, essentially doubling the country's power output in less than 2 decades.
We see offshore floating wind projects as a way of using our competence from the oil and gas industry.
Betting big on renewables while making billions from fossil fuels. Norway is arguably trying to have both. It's unwilling to pull the plug from its hugely profitable fossil fuel industry and is falling short of global green targets, proving the journey to a total green energy economy is far from straightforward. Brent O'Halloran, Sky News in Oslo.